Hey, welcome to Circle of Hope Pastors video cast. Someone asked. We do 9 seconds. Yeah, right. 9 minutes of unscripted dialogue because we want to think about the things that people are saying and asking, and we want to talk about them. And we're listening to the Holy Spirit while we're doing this. We're seeing what shakes out. This week's question is, what do we do about evil, like ISIS? Big in the news this past weekend, obviously, and we're thinking about it with the rest of everybody. So, uh, what do you think, Rachel? What do we do about evil?
Well, I think the first thing we do is pay attention. There's so much going on that it's easy to tune things out. So it's good to pay attention, and then I think it's good to pray and trust God. I just watched that video that's going around on Facebook of the French father, talking to his little boy about how do we protect ourselves from the bad people with guns that the little boy was asking about, and the dad gave a pretty wise and fearless answer that didn't teach revenge. And I think we can get to that fearless, um, not needing to take revenge place in prayer and in trusting God. And then I think there's lots of ways to actually take action beyond that you guys might have some ideas about. What do you think, Josh?
That was a really wonderful answer. That's what I think.
Thanks.
Also, yeah, evil's easy to find. I mean, I need to look no further than myself. I have the full capacity for evil acts. Anything like heinous that I am offended by or see in the world, I'm capable of doing. And the temptations for them are not far away. So I need to like be saved by Jesus in that mix where it's really, a dynamism between trying to choose to live in the way of Jesus as opposed to getting pulled around by the randomness.
Hmm.
Yeah, I saw that French video too, and I can't. I have to admit that it was a little bit of he's talking to a very little kid. I don't know if everyone saw this video, but the kid's probably like 3 or 4 years old, and he says he has to move away from France um, because they're not safe there. And he says, no, we're not moving. Dad says, no, we're not moving. The flowers and the candles are what's going to protect us. And I don't know. That could seem like a 3-year-old answer. Like that works for the three. It's kind of like I felt a little bit like he was hoodwinking the little kid. Um, though that was like a kind of like my base reaction. Um, what do you, Rach, can I push back on you on that, Rachel? Can you
Yeah.
explain more why you thought it was so good?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as grown-ups, we need to go a little deeper. But I liked his the lack of fear that he was trying to instill in his son, and he was pushing back, I think, against the taking revenge instinct that countries thrive on. Um, so yeah, I don't know how that dad where that dad goes with God to get there, but I identified with that. I know my hope is in Jesus. I think that's the only hope, and I know that I get that sense from God that things are crazy now, but Jesus is going to wrap up time, and all will be well. And that helps me to stay planted where I'm at and face the evil with that kind of love and presence that Jesus has.
Yeah, kind of like what Joshua was saying of kind of coming to grips with real evil and how present it is. That goes a little bit deeper than the 3 or 4 year old answer.
Hmm.
What's Jesus doing with me and the whole world and all of time? I like that. Johnny, let's get to you. What are you thinking?
It's a good question to ask. Like we're saying, Jesus and God have been trying to answer it for all of time. You know, there's been a lot of plans, even disrupted, about how to respond to evil. God created us in one way, humankind rebelled, and since that point, the complete restoration of people, the defeat of death, has been an ongoing project. I think finally and fully answered by the death and resurrection of Jesus. And so, what do I do about evil? Like Rachel's saying, the answer is trust in God, follow Jesus. But to be honest with you, geopolitically, that is a rather simplistic answer, and it doesn't really address any of the problems that we're facing. Um, Terrorists are responding to a lot of things with heinous actions. The U.S. government drones them back. Israel continues to arm itself. Iran is now on nuclear sanctions, not developing arms for the next 10 years. Who knows what the next 10 years holds? Meanwhile, there's refugees all over the world trying to find a home. Supplying them with a simple answer, Jesus saves you, um, I think is really good for them to know and understand, but tackling the complicated issues at hand requires a lot of thought and honestly, more than a 9-minute video. You know,
Hmm.
this is extraordinarily complex, and so we need to keep thinking about it as Christians.
One
Yeah.
thing that helps us is to think about what the good about so many U.S. Americans responding to attacks, in Beirut, where they're kind of like thinking, we need to do something about it. There's this great evil, we have capacity, we need to respond. And I think that's a really good instinct. It gets twisted, however, to be pushed into like the U.S. super military needs to do something as if they didn't sort of make large contributions to this situation being the way it is. However, so like you got to see those structures, but how do we affirm that desire to defend people who are getting um, sacked by a certain kind of fanaticism or a certain sort of power mongering or desperation. And like when Scotty went to Kurdistan with Christian peacemaker teams, it was weird for him. He told us at his little debrief session that so many Kurds were rooting for the United States to come in and bomb the ISIS back. That's a nice place of dissonance to pray and to really look and relate and listen to people's stories and not just sort of decide what should be done for them.
Yeah, as a Middle Eastern person, I know a lot of Christians in Egypt and otherwise who are quite conservative about what the response to evil should be. A military interventionist response makes sense to people who have been ignored for hundreds of years in the region, colonized before and then colonized again, unable to express themselves. They don't know what the solution is. They don't even know how to hold on to Jesus because if they declare his name, they might get killed.
There's always great fallout for the poor, and I'm thinking about how our thrift stores exist to send money and practical supplies that become relief and development efforts for people who are suffering greatly in the fallout of the terror. And so I'm just grateful for the ways that we're able to practically help and the conviction that we have to keep doing that. And there's probably new creative ways that we can respond together as a community. I'm thinking about how last year, 2 years ago, we had this random collection of bridal dresses come into our possession and prom dresses, and we ended up selling them off to be able to provide some more relief for Syrian refugees. And there might be more that we can do to help, and I'm kind of excited to pray on that together as a community.
Yeah, and to keep paying attention and having that sort of creative response even after the media frenzy is over, which will unfortunately be within the next 2 weeks. Um, we'll have moved on. Paris won't, but we'll probably be on to whatever other next thing is gonna sell advertising dollars. I'm very cynical about this kind of big response, but I am not cynical about the fact that Jesus is with us, and he gives us the courage and the capacity to stay with it and to keep paying attention and being creative in the small ways we can. I don't think we're going to solve the geopolitical problems like we were saying, but we're going to pay attention to them. We might, read a serious article about it that's longer than the BuzzFeed one, um, and pray through the article too. Jesus is going to save the whole world, and we have to lean into that. We got nothing else. That's my wrap up for us today, and we're way out of time. So like us on Facebook, share us. Lots of people are talking about these video casts, and you can get in on the conversation by talking to us, talking to yourself, or even on the internet too with people you don't know yet. Peace